imagine going down the Autobahn in one of these.
So we're back with James from RSR Classics. Now, we've got a 930. It is the original Widowmaker, but I don't think anything compares to this. So we talked, I have a 930. I didn't actually drive it down here today. I bought the 356 for a collection of reasons.
Yeah.
But this is a different breed. This is a GT2, but a Clubsport.
Yeah, quite a rare club sport here in Australia particularly.
How many of these were made? Because there couldn't have been many GT2s
Worldwide,
anyway.
worldwide about 1,300 or just under 1,300.
Which is more than I thought there were.
But in right-hand drive, the numbers are around the 70.
Ooh, that drops quick.
And then in Australia, 29 were sold in Australia, and a club sport version of the ones that came here, there's, I don't have exact numbers, but it may be about 6 or 7.
Yeah, handful, isn't it?
Being the type of car it is, there's not many of them left. A lot of them were destroyed.
Because I've been in a GT2, standard GT2 before.
Yep.
I think it was a 996. Yep. And like when you compare it to, like the 930 has that original Widowmaker image.
This one's the true one.
But these are a bit of a different breed.
Definitely not many club sports were spec'd back then when they were brand new.
Because that's a brave spec to do. When you're looking at GT3s, back in this era, they had the white and blue, white and red.
That's right.
GT3, like a historic kind of colour. I guess as you're kind of wandering through the showroom, looking at those kind of cars, but there's a black GT2.
GT2.
Might have gone a bit understated unless you really knew what you were kind of looking for.
You were a bit brave to buy one of these cars for sure.
Yeah.
And most of the guys that bought these cars already had other Carreras or GT3s as well. I know quite a few guys that had several GT3s and then also added this to their collection back then. Quite a weapon for what it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, certainly commands that name, the Widowmaker.
I think it takes that 930 part to a completely new level.
Yeah. This car's been in the collection for quite a long time. Only has 17,500 kilometres on it. The owner has 2 of them. Yeah, look, it's just time to move it on. Just move on with the collection.
And we don't do many cars that are for sale, but this one is actually for sale at the moment. So we'll put a link in the description below for James, so everybody's got his details. They can contact him about this car if they're looking for it. I'd seen you have this car for sale for, it's been on the market maybe a couple of weeks.
About a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've just had enough time to catch up with you to kind of film this, because I was like, I better reach out before this goes into a collection and I perhaps don't see it again. I was like, no, today's the chance to do that.
Sure.
Now, these come with quite a spec.
Well, it's the club sport specs, so the interior is complete what you'd get in a GT3 Club Sport. The dash is leather and so on, because it was a bit of an up spec to, compared to a GT3, but essentially has the same interior as a GT3. Obviously mechanicals are quite different. It has the ceramic brakes, and obviously it's a twin turbocharged rear wheel drive only 911.
The perfect driving position, a 6-speed manual gearbox with the only modern day driving aid being ABS brakes. The traction control is left between you and your conscience.
Only that whole twin turbocharged rear wheel drive, and especially in a beast like this, because I know it's a handful in the 930, but how many horsepower? What are we looking at?
Anywhere between 430, 450, around there, but very simple tune. Can take that up to 550. I've seen some of these cars with 600, 650 horsepower, but in a standard spec, which this car is, unmodified, it's probably going to be around the 450 mark. And I think Porsche back then were always underquoting their figures.
I've heard that.
Particularly with the RSs, they did that. It's not unheard of for these cars to have 480 horsepower. So it's anywhere in that range. I know the factory figures can't be taken as Bible, but Yeah.
Because it's turbo.
It's almost
not aggressive right on the get-go.
Yeah, there's a bit of luxury. It doesn't have that sound of the GT3 at that early rev range.
Yeah.
They do lull you into a false sense of security, I think.
Yeah, they certainly do. They were obviously the highest spec 911 you could buy, power-wise. So they were very expensive when they were brand new. They were obviously more than a GT3. Limited numbers compared to an RS.
So we're going to go for a spin in a minute, and I just expressed my nervousness about I'm so gentle with people's cars that normally I stall. But we're just going to cover some of the differences between this and the GT3. Because if, like we talked about earlier, if you're going in the showroom, there's a hell of a difference between the two that were that era of the cars.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is a 2002 model. So back then you had a choice of a GT3 or, obviously you had the normal road-going turbos as well. But if you wanted the complete high-spec, high-performance, top of the tree 911, this one was it. A bit more luxurious than the GT3. Obviously a GT3 is very raw, but this has a lot more horsepower than a GT3. For all intents and purposes, the guy that wanted to tick every single box chose one of these.
Yeah.
Everything was pretty much standard on it. The carbon ceramics, obviously it had way more horsepower than a GT3. Still rear-wheel drive, and just had the best of the best in it. So if you drive this car around just on a normal day, normal driving, it is fairly comfortable. It drives basically like a Carrera.
Yeah.
If you get aggressive with the accelerator, it will get very aggressive with you. They're not a completely unsafe car. It's only because people didn't understand how to drive them. You need to warm up to the car a bit. You can't just jump in it and go crazy.
And back in the day, that would have been quite a shock to people's system. Nowadays, it's probably not so much of a shock to people, but it is still rear-wheel drive, twin turbo.
That's right. It delivers the power quite aggressively once the turbos spool up and you're on it quite a bit. Still, a great car to drive around. I love them.
So we're going to go for a spin. We're actually going to take it back to the garage now. I have the great pleasure of being able to take it back. We are going to be very, very gentle, but this will be my first drive in a GT2, never mind a GT2 Clubsport, but I'm hoping I won't stall. Let's be gentle with this beast.
So we're going to take a gentle drive back. I am so happy just to be, we're going through a car park, over the road, and then we're there. But I'm just so happy. We won't be checking how often. That's tight, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that was quite obviously a...
Because I was like, is it in neutral? And I went to move it, and it's solid.
Yeah, well, I mean, for this type of gearbox and the setup...
It needs to be tight, doesn't it?
Yeah, typical GT sort of gear shift.
Yeah, that's... because obviously I drove here in the 356 today. It's a little bit sloppier than the... than that. I think that's the way to go. First. Everything feels different when you're in the driver's seat.
I'm sure it does.
Because, well, I don't know if we caught it in the video. I was like, this seat feels different. But I think it's just because I'm sat in the driver's seat. And when I turned the key and started it, when I was sat there, I didn't really hear it. Now I hear the experience. Just as soon as your bum hits the driver's seat, you're like, oh, now I know what this is about. This is...
Yeah, they were very special cars. And I mean, I was fortunate enough back then to play with a few of these cars, so I mean, I know them when they were brand new. They're still very special, even all these years later.
It's really tight as well, isn't it? Like we talked about the shifter, but the steering's tight. I don't know why. I've been in some older GT3s, and they get a little bit rattly.
Yeah, it just depends on their maintenance.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this car is very low kilometres, so there's not much really that has worn or anything like that. But a lot of these components.
Sure about this one, yeah. But where this is just, you can feel it in the steering.
Yeah, it's okay. They actually ride reasonably high. They're not crazy low or anything like that.
The clutch is nice.
Yeah, clutch is nice and smooth and fairly soft.
Yeah. You can feel that it has it there though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of pedal along.
oh, you can putt around it just like a normal Carrera in these cars. So yeah, it was the same with the GT3 back in the day. It was just like a normal Carrera at low speeds.
Yeah.
But you know, put your foot down, it's a completely different animal.
Yeah, because the rev counter goes up to 8. Looks like it starts redlining, bit of redlining at around 6 or 8. It does go to 8, but that's probably a bit over revving it.
Yeah, and being a turbo, it's obviously having a lot less rev range than a naturally aspirated engine would.
And I guess with the twin turbo, it doesn't have that spool like the lag, does it?
No, not really. I mean, they spool up fairly quickly, and yeah, I mean, once the turbos are singing away, it's just
They'll be very gentle, but it's a comfy drive.
Yeah, it's
solid.
Yeah, solid comfort. I mean, that's just a typical GT product from
Porsche
back in this era.
Yeah,
I still think Porsche just had the mix right in obviously the water-cooled era from 996, 997, all the products across that range, the GT products in particular, were just spot on. Once the 991 came in and onwards, they're still fantastic cars. Obviously technology, you know, has come a long way, but there's just something special about the 996 and 997 generation GT cars. Whether it's GT2, GT3, RSs of course, they're just something special about them.
Yeah, I think the next owner of this is going to pick up a very special car. Like, not only because it's rare and there are very few of them, but just the way this car is built and drives. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks to James again for taking us out in this, and this is like a little bit of a bucket list tick off for me. Only a casual drive, but I have sat in a driver's seat and changed gear in a GT2 Clubsport, so nobody can ever take that away from me. There will be a link in the description for this car up for sale. I think whoever buys this, not only because it's rare, this is just a beautifully built and it's an amazing car. So thanks for watching. Thanks to James. We will see you later. See you guys. Bye.